Hey, and welcome to another showcase, where I try to make fun, interesting team comps that stray away from the meta. These builds are purely just for fun, but I try to make them work in some way. These builds can be used as reference for making your own team, so feel free to swap any characters that may suit your playstyle better. It's been a while since I did a Chongyun showcase video, and if you've taken a look at my recent Spiral Abyss runs, you can see that I made my Bennett C6, so I have to play my Chongyun a little differently. This time I'm going to take advantage of the Pyro infusion, and let my Lava Walker set increase both my fire and ice damage. So enjoy this half cold half hot build.
Hasta que me convierta en rayos y más allá. A través de la gran oscuridad y más allá. Seremos miles, crecemos en número, solo un trueno de horizontes. Seremos miles, más y más allá. A través de la gran oscuridad, hasta que me convierta en rayos, más y más allá.
Alright, so let's take a look at this team, shall we? With my current Lava Walker build, I have 1800 attack. And for my crit stats, I have 48% crit rate and 195% crit damage. And I have absolutely no energy recharge in this build. I have some Pyro resistance, but that's because of the Lava Walker set. And I have a Cryo damage bonus cup. I'm using a Black Cliff Slasher in this build for a few reasons. 1, I just got it, so I wanted to test it out. And 2, I think the aesthetics fit this so well, being a half fire and half ice build and all. And I do have a 5-star weapon, but I chose this one anyways. But if I had to recommend a weapon for anyone, I would probably recommend any weapon with energy recharge. If you need it, that is. And I said before, I'm using 4-piece Lava Walker. I tried farming this set for a long time. I'm pretty satisfied with this build for now. And since it was a test build, I didn't want to invest too much into it, so I stuck with the crit stats I could get. Although I would have preferred using my crit damage headpiece instead of a crit rate one, which is kinda why I got the Black Cliff Slasher. Like I said before, I'm using a Cryo damage cup piece. I could choose to use a Pyro damage cup piece, but I wanted a nice balance between ice and fire. I still wanted all my ice attacks to deal some decent damage, because his ultimate is still my favorite skill in the game. So it wouldn't have made sense to make my E and my ult damage useless. And besides, if I cared only about the fire damage, then what's the point of playing Chongyun? My constellations have been C6 since the beginning, so there's no surprise here, and none of this affects my pyro damage. And my talents have been the same since day 1. I haven't been able to collect any Duval and Sai ever since, so I just need to farm those. And if anyone's interested in the other artifacts that everyone else is wearing, Xiangling is wearing Crimson Witch of Flames, and you can pause at any time to see all the substats. I'm using a support build on Bennett, and he's my noblesse buffer. You can pause at any time to see all the substats. My Sucrose build's been the same the entire time, with the same 918 elemental mastery as my Sucrose video. And again, I'll just show all the substats here. Some key points in this team build. Both of Sucrose's passives increase my elemental mastery for Chongyun, so he can have increased melt procs every time I ult or press E. I used the Viridescent set to reduce the enemy's Pyro resist, which works well with the Lava Walker set, increasing damage against enemies affected by Pyro. And this set is used because I want to deal damage whether or not I'm using Pyro or Cryo damage. This is my ideal build for a Lava Walker Chongyun, because Xiangling can keep applying fire to enemies, and so can Sucrose, and I need enemies to be affected by Pyro at all times for Lava Walker to work, regardless if he's doing Pyro or Cryo damage. So if anyone's interested in seeing the difference in damage between using a Cryo Cup or a Pyro Cup, this is me with a Cryo Cup. My Chongyun's normal attacks are critting around 6k to 8.6k to 8.3k. The 13k was a melt, thanks to my first constellation, which is why I like this strategy. And as for the damage of the ultimate, under a melt, without Sucrose can deal about 38k, and if you're lucky with your timing you can get multiple melts to proc. So now looking at the Pyro Cup damage, my Chongyun here is dealing 9.8k, 11.2k, 14.2k, and it was the ice slashes that melted, not the normal attack, but a lot closer to 10k on average. And as for the Chongyun ultimate under a melt, it's dealing about 27k, which is a pretty significant damage change going into a Pyro Cup rather than a Cryo Cup. Alright, so I hope you like this showcase. It's a much more unconventional build, and of course you can only do it if you have a Constellation 6 Bennett, so it's not for everyone. But if you do have a C6 Bennett, at least this makes up for the lack of cryo damage that you can do. So feel free to use this build if you want. And I haven't determined if I like this build over my Noblesse and Gladiator build yet, but I'm sure after playing this build more often, I'll figure it out. Alright, so that's all for the showcase, and see you in the next video.
A través de la gran oscuridad hasta que me convierta